People bring in coolers, they pay an admission fee, and they, bet among themselves. Of course they bet among themselves. Now, he has signs up, betting's not allowed, you can't bet, but it's a third-degree felony to negligently allow betting at an unlicensed racetrack. Now, that's a good example of anti-competitive regulatory legislation that I guarantee you was sponsored and promoted by the licensed racing tracks. I couldn't find it unconstitutional. I couldn't not sign his warrant. He had probable cause. He had a statute. I'm not going to declare the statute unconstitutional on my own, but that's a good example of the kind of thing that I think we have too much of in our criminal laws in Texas today. And I see it growing, where we have really what are regulatory or administrative or just things that shouldn't be crimes or certainly shouldn't be felonies. Are prosecuted as felonies or prosecuted as crimes. They shouldn't be. I'm not saying that law was unconstitutional, but I'm saying I find it disturbing. And that's an example of something that I really disagree with.
So back to, and I know we've gone a little bit over my time there, but what about Kim Davis in Kentucky, where I guess they, the district judge, court judge, was acting on what appeared to be the supremacy clause over state law of Kentucky?
I really didn't follow that one very closely. I didn't understand why she went to jail. But I didn't follow it closely enough to say.
Fair enough.
Now, in discussions with somebody else, that was a while back, I really hate to comment on something that I'm not informed about, so.
Okay. All right. Is that, how's our camera? Space doing? Okay. You ready for your question?
Oh. On 19, it says, do parents have the right to block grandparents' rights or doctor's intervention? We've had some of this in the past, and I liked your answer, and I'm just trying to follow through with a little bit more. For instance, if you've got a child that has cancer and you're sitting there refusing to let them have chemo or
You the parent?
Yeah, you're the parent.
Oh.
At what point does the state have the right to come in and decide that for the doctors or for a grandparent that they're going to intercede and take your rights away as a parent?
We're going to give that kid chemo, we're going to give him the blood infusion or whatever. I think when it's necessary to protect the life of the child. And this is one of those areas that I'm just not well versed in, and I hate to wander into it.
It's okay.
But yeah, I think children do sometimes need protection from their parents. And that's clearly the case in abuse situations, neglect situations, and it can be in situations also where the parents have endangered that child's life because of, I don't know, religious beliefs or something else.
What's your position on civil asset forfeiture?
I think that has gotten out of control and is subject to abuse. I think that it is, it incentivizes unjust property seizures and needs to be overhauled. I think it should be examined and perhaps overhauled.
Do you guys give feedback to state representatives regarding that? What's the feedback loop from the court system back to the legislature on that?
I'm not in any feedback loop. And the civil forfeiture doesn't happen in the criminal courts in Harris County. So I'm not in that loop at all.
It just happened up in Waco, and Bob will probably take it from here. Are you familiar with that situation up there where I guess 9 of
The
yeah,
shooting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the shooting that happened,
Just what I've seen in the paper.
yeah,
Mhm.
okay. You may have a.
I might as well go in, that's a good lead-in. I mean, we talk about the criminal justice system, or the lack of justice in an area, and Waco is definitely an area for the lack of justice, but their assets were taken from them.
The bikers,
Yes, and not just bikers, but anybody that was there in a restaurant.
really?
Yes, their cars, their motorcycles, their RVs, their computers, their phones. Almost everything was taken away from them. They have not been convicted. They have not had a court date yet. That was May of last year. And all of their stuff's been sold. They don't have anything.
Yeah, that's outrageous.
I understand if you're keeping something for
Evidence. Right,
evidence,
sure.
but it wasn't even for evidence, and it was sold.
That's awful. That's awful.
And-
I was not aware of that.
And they get nothing back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's outrageous.
yeah, because it was supposed to be a year.
Mr. Lambert's here.
Okay, thank you. Question?
So it's just,
No, I agree. That's an outrageous situation, and that definitely calls for overhaul.
another incident was that every one of them that was arrested, close to 200, not take away the 9 that were killed, were under one order. And everyone was put under $1 million bond.
Yeah, right.
And that was from a JP,
Right.
which from what we can find out, doesn't have the authority to do it to begin with. So our justice system definitely needs somebody in there, in the Court of Appeals, that's gonna be able to handle this stuff, because I'm sure this is all going to be coming up through, up that direction.
Right, right. Well, we'll see how far it gets. You know, it sounded like, just from what little I knew, that the investigation was handled so poorly that it may not make it very far. You know, juries have a way of sorting things out too.
Well, we're hoping that we could ever get a trial.
Right,
Not a one has been on trial yet. May
No.
17th will be a year.
right, right.
And we're running a little short on time, so I did have, let's see. On the case number 4 that pertained to, excuse me, where is it? Number 4, but it's on, I think, the 5th page. Okay, so it's the Brandy Briggs case, and the second to last paragraph, which is just a sentence, and it says Briggs was not exonerated. There was no trial court error in relation to her having bad counsel. Whose responsibility is it to determine if the defendant has ineffective counsel? Do you have some responsibility, or who does that fall upon? You know, if you recognize that, you know, hey, this guy or gal
You mean like at the time of the trial?
during the time of the trial, that, you know, the guy is just ineffective. Is that something you can do, or is somebody at the mercy of, you know, an attorney that you hire? I mean, I know it's up to people to make sure that they look into it, but I can assure you, I mean, we're pretty educated people here, and we'll do our due diligence, but that's still not gonna guarantee it that you have an effective lawyer in court during that time
Right,
frame.
it doesn't guarantee anything. There are no guarantees. But
Right.
here's the thing, a trial court judge hardly ever is gonna know what kind of assistance the lawyer is giving if they're performing their job in court. And the Brandy Briggs case is a good example of that, because the issue wasn't, did he do something wrong in court? He didn't do anything wrong in court. In my opinion, he didn't do anything wrong even outside of court. But what the Court of Criminal Appeals found was that he was inadequate in providing her with resources to, like, hire experts or getting expert assistance. And so they said, well, he could have done this, he could have done that. And maybe he could have done all those things, he didn't do them. She wound up pleading guilty, and so I'm not sure. I mean, I just didn't think that she should have prevailed on her ineffective assistance claim. She did, and that's fine, but my main point is that Wheelis wants to hang Brandy Briggs around my neck as if I had done something wrong, and I didn't do anything wrong. I made a ruling, I looked at the evidence, and that's all I can do. I can only rule on what's in front of me. I'm not clairvoyant. I don't know what else is out there.
Okay. All right, thanks. Let me see what we've got for time. Why don't, it's about 3 minutes to 6, so why don't, do you have another pressing question? And I think I'm pretty close to, let me ask you one more question. Sanctuary cities, what's your opinion on that?
Terrible. Awful. And Houston, you know, in Harris County, we used to have a program in the county jail where there was cooperation between ICE and the county jail, and they would put holds on aliens that had been charged with crimes. That's kind of gone by the wayside, and it's all under the Obama administration. They have just kind of brushed those things off, and it's just ridiculous how we are dealing with aliens, criminal aliens in this country. Yeah, we have sanctuary cities. We have a sanctuary nation. We don't do anything. They don't enforce the immigration laws. It's a joke. It's really a joke, and it's completely out of control.
Well, does that fall on you guys and to your court?
Well, we have lots of aliens
significantly?
charged with crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We have lots and lots of aliens charged with
What
crime.
percent lands in
I
your
don't
court? Do you know right off the top of
What
your head?
percentage of the offenders charged are aliens? A significant percentage, but I can't tell you what.
Yeah, okay. All right, sounds good. If you like, you can go ahead and close out with up to 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, well, I think I may be repeating myself, but the Court of Criminal Appeals just handles criminal cases on appeal. And if you don't have a demonstrated aptitude for and experience in doing lots of legal research and writing, you may be adrift at the Court of Criminal Appeals. And there's only 9 judges on that court, and we really can't afford to have one of them that's not up to the task. My background uniquely qualifies me for the work of the court, not only because I was an appellate prosecutor and I've been a trial court judge, a felony trial court judge. I was also a briefing attorney right out of law school for the First Court of Appeals. That gave me additional appellate experience. And so I have the aptitude and I have the experience, and neither of my opponents does.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate you coming up and
My pleasure.
being with us. And
Thank you very